Hello my crafty friends, welcome back to Inspiration for Cards. My name is David and I'm gonna make a card with you today. It's gonna be a fun technique where I'm using the smushing of distress oxide inks and sprays, and well, you'll see it. And I'm gonna make these two cards. It's sort of 2 for 1 because the cutouts of, the cutouts of this one I'm gonna use to make this card. So 2 for 1. I'm going to make 2 backgrounds with you and I'm going to make the 2 cards in today's video. Now, if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when I make future videos. And now, without any further ado, let's dive in and make these 2 cards. Have fun! And here you can see the products that I'm going to be using today. I will link everything on my blog and I have a full list in the description bar. It was really fun working with these products and doing the ink smushing technique, and you will definitely see more of that. Now here I'm making the card panels using the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock to do the ink smushing on, and I'm using some Simon Hurley stark white cardstock for the sentiments and the first panel that you see me do here. Now this is a Concord and 9th Happy Birthday die. It's massive. It just barely fits on the card front, but it's stunning. You will see it in a minute. So here I'm positioning that on my cardstock and using some post-it tape to make sure it doesn't shift while I'm die cutting. And I'm taking out my Sizzix Big Shot Fold Away. That's a mouthful to say. And I'm gonna die cut that out. You will see a full review on this machine soon on my channel. Here I am taking out all the bits and bobs and all the little pieces and putting them all back together like a puzzle because I want everything to stay in place. So I'm gonna take my tape again and really put that over there so all the pieces stay in there until I need them and I don't lose anything. I ended up losing one little bit, but you don't even notice it. This post-it tape is really nice because if you take it off, it doesn't rip the paper. And now the fun starts. I'm putting down my colors of Distress Oxide ink and I'm using, let me think, Worn Lipstick and Wilted Violet here. And then I'm adding some of the limited edition mica stain sprays, Hocus Pocus and Winterberry. One is from the Halloween set, one is from the Christmas set, but you can mix and match these. If you have the complete sets, you have a full color range that you can use. And I'm adding a bit of Distress ink spray in the color Wilted, Crackling Campfire. Crackling Campfire. Talking is hard. Right, here I've added some water and now I'm just pushing down the cardstock into the ink, and you can see at the top of my craft sheet it's getting a bit muddy, so I took it all away and I'm careful not to push it in there again because in this case I wanted to keep the colors all nice and bright. So I'm putting down again some inks and some sprays and I'm gonna smush it in again adding some water to make it all fluid. And then I'm gonna dive in again. Now, what you saw me do is dry the ink before I put on the next layer. And the reason for doing that is if you mix wet and wet, you will blend. And if you put ink on dried ink, you will get layers. And that's what you see here. You get a nice depth in these colors. You see the buildup of layers of ink, and that's what we're going for. Now I'm drying the cardstock again because I want to make sure it's really dry. Then I'm going to take my Tim Holtz sprayer, and I've made my own glitter spray with some perfect pearls and some mica powder. I'm spraying that on there and that gives it a really nice shimmer, and it also gives it some nice drops. All these inks are water reactive and that gives it a very nice effect. You can't see the glimmer on the video, but it's really nice. Now I'm taking the balloon die from that same die set and I'm cutting out some balloons, putting these to the side But I wanted some color on the card front. You will see that in a minute. Here I'm taking my favorite glue and I'm adding some small blue dots on all the small pieces that I want to stick onto the paper. It'll all make sense in a minute. And then I'm putting glue on all around the sentiment, which did not make any sense because, well, it's not completely going to be covered. So you will see me take off part of that glue again. But anyway, it's covered in glue and that's what's the point here. Now I'm adding that colored piece of cardstock. Next, I'm taking the balloons and I'm making the balloons for the front. And you can see that I've put all the bits and bobs and pieces back into that die cut and I took out the big words. And that gives us a see-through effect to that nice bright color cardstock that we made. Next, I'm taking a piece of string. It's a very thin string with some silver wire in it. And I'm gluing that to the card front. And that will be the strings that the balloons will hold, or that will hold the balloons. Otherwise the balloons will fly away and we don't want that. So I'm sticking that onto my card base, pulling that through some glue, and making sure it's on there. And then I'm gonna glue the balloons on top of that, and that will give us the illusion of the balloon floating there. And I only glue the solid part of the balloon, and so that very thin part of the balloon has some movement in it because that's sticking up a bit, creating a bit of a shadow and therefore some depth on the card. And this already concludes the card front from the first card. I'm not going to do anything more on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue the back, and this time, yes, glue the whole back, and I'm going to stick it onto my card base, making it a standard A6 comparable with US A2 size card. Here we go. There's the first card already done and dusted and finished. Very fun and bright, quite neutral card. You can use it for men, you can use it for women, depending on the colors, of course, you use. The next card is going to be in blue color. So salvaged patina, peacock feathers, etc. I will list everything below. I'm smushing down the colors again. And at first I am just putting down some of the brighter colors and the bright, really bright mica stain. And these colors look similar, but on the paper they have a completely different effect, and the mica stains almost have a duotone to it. Also because of the light reflection of the mica, but also the base colors is, yeah, they're very beautiful, very beautiful. I know they're sold out in a lot of places, but if you still can get your hands on them, I highly recommend them. And I don't get paid for saying this, but I just love them. Now here I'm drying in between again, because as I said before, if you're layering ink dry on wet, wet on dry, then you're layering. If you're just smushing it in again, you're blending. So if it's wet on wet, it's blending. If it's wet on dry, you're layering. And the last bit is what I want. I want some depth in there. So I'm drying my cardstock again, using my Ranger heat tool again. And since this is not muddy at all on the side, I can reuse that and just dip in my paper again. And you can do this until you're happy with your design. And I'm quite happy here, so I'm drying it again. And you can really see the different layers of color on here. And that's the beauty of having this oxide ink. It's a hybrid ink, so you have quite a high opacity to it, but you also have the dye ink properties to it, and that's being a bit transparent. And by using the water, you get the best of both worlds. Here I'm adding a bit of frosted juniper because I'm missing a bit of depth in it, a bit of contrast. So I wanted some darker color in there. So I'm putting that on there, smushing it in there. And yeah, I'm happy. This is exactly what I was after. Just creating a bit more contrast and a bit more depth. I'm using my sprayer again with the mica spray in it and the perfect pearls to create some glimmer and some spots. I'm drying it in between and taking off some of the droplets, and that creates a nice effect. And here's the finished card front already. Next, I have the die cut that I've got left over in a way from the first card that we're using. And that's the nice way of doing it like this, because you don't waste anything. And I'm cutting out some white balloons using the die that comes with the set. And this time I'm going to use a lot more of this balloon die. Now it's time to glue everything together. So I'm putting the sentiment on the card front. And next it's the turn for the balloons. Now I want to make sure that it's well adhered. So a little bit of glue on all the parts. And I'm using the art glitter glue. And that is really my favorite glue. It gives me some working time, but not too long, because I don't want it to be shifting when I'm done. But it just gives me enough time to wiggle where I want it, and then it's quickly dry. Next, the balloons, putting the glue on the solid parts, and then putting it onto the cardstock, creating this fun card. And I think this is a very nice card for men. I know a lot of times we struggle to make cards for men, but hey, it doesn't have to be that hard. And here you see a good example of that. Now that I'm happy where everything is placed, I'm gonna press down a bit more, and I'm gonna take my scissors and cut off the excess of the balloons from the side. Now I could have glued everything on, but I didn't want that. I wanted to have a bit of a different composition than the original thoughts behind the die. And I wanted to have some more of that blue showing through. Hence I put it to where I put it, giving me a bit more blue of the background shining through. Now this card front is already finished. I'm just taking a bit of glue on my, it's a needle pin that I have in my glue bottle. I'm using that to put a tiny bit of glue underneath the things that are poking up, because I want at least on the sides, I want everything to be adhered so it doesn't get damaged when putting in and out of the envelope. So now that's done, I'm gonna put my glue on the back of the front panel, and I'm gonna put that down on my card base. And I'm using glue here because I want the time to wiggle and make sure that this card is really, really straight and where I want it. Now the card base is a bit too big, and I'm using pre-folded card bases that I bought, and I noticed this one wasn't folded straight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out my Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer, and I'm going to make it fit. I'm going to make it right, because I don't want to waste any cardstock. So I'm just going to use this card base and trim it so you don't see anything. I'm just going to line it up under that finger protector and trim it to size. And you don't see anything of it when I'm done. This trimmer is really good and I really like it. And it's very convenient to use. Next, I'm going to trim off the bottom of the card. And there we go. Here we have the finished result of my card. I love it. And I love the 2-for-1. The negative and the positive die you can use. And I love how these two cards came out. They're nice, bright, cheerful, and it's a very nice happy birthday card. Now, I really hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider to subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one. Until then, bye!